I'm Talia Ricci. Tonight, a family of 5 dies in a Brampton house fire.
This is unbelievable.
3 children and both their parents were killed in the early morning fire. Neighbors and family members have since identified the victims. Plus,
there'll be an autopsy to determine the cause of death.
Toronto police are investigating in Leslieville tonight after a body was found in a garbage bag. We'll have the latest from the scene. And
this is the next step we're taking to keep costs down for people in our province.
The deal many have been waiting for is finally done. Ontario families can now look forward to a big break on childcare fees. We begin with that tragic story in Brampton where 5 members of the same family are dead after a devastating house fire. 3 young children and their parents died, only their grandmother surviving. She remains in hospital tonight. Ali Chiasson has the story.
Neighbors awoke to sirens and flashing lights at 2 a.m., looked out their window and saw thick black smoke.
That was very sad, and then I just prayed for the firefighters and first responders and the family.
3 children died here, 10-year-old Aaliyah, 8-year-old Jaden, and 6-year-old Layla. Their parents as well, 28-year-old Nazir Ali and 29-year-old Raven Ali O'Day. Bonnie O'Day, the children's grandmother, managed to escape but remains in hospital. Their children's grandfather, who lives elsewhere in Brampton, learned of the fire early this morning.
This is unbelievable.
As painful as it is to speak so soon after losing his grandchildren, daughter, and son-in-law, Louis Philippa made sure to be here.
My daughter just back her home not too long ago, a year ago. They did renovations. They painted the house. As far as I know, this morning I found out that she had no fire alarm, no smoke alarms because of the renovations. Whoever did the painting and whatever, they didn't bother putting it back. I don't know.
That will be part of the fire marshal investigation, as well as the cause and origin of the fire. But even in the early stages, fire officials are heeding the warning.
I just really want to ask people, as they're watching, please go check your smoke alarms. It takes 2 minutes. Go get a chair, stand up and push the button, make sure it's beeping, change the batteries.
We want to remind people out there about working smoke alarms. We also want to remind people about home escape plans.
2 tenants who rented the basement apartment managed to escape without injury.
Now, my aim today, from now on, is to make sure people know how important it is to have smoke alarms. This pain, I don't want nobody to go through because this is... I'm sorry.
The fire damage to the home is extensive, as you can see behind me. So the investigation into the origin and cause of the fire will take weeks. But in the meantime, the rest of the family and their neighbors will continue to mourn, but also pull for the children's grandmother, Bonnie O'Day, who remains in hospital tonight. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
1 person is dead after being struck by a vehicle in Mississauga tonight. Peel Police received the call just before 8:30 tonight of someone being hit in the western part of the city near Dundas and Neilco. The pedestrian died at the scene. The vehicle involved in the collision remained at the scene. Major Collisions has taken over the investigation. Police are asking any witnesses to contact them. And Toronto police are investigating after a body was discovered in a garbage bag in Leslieville this afternoon. The person has not yet been identified. Police are canvassing the area tonight. Jessica Ng has the latest from the scene.
Police are looking into this afternoon's discovery of a body inside of a bag. Duty Inspector David Correa says they were alerted by a community member to the finding at 1:30 p.m. He says it was found on the sidewalk of the intersection of Eastern and Berkshire, which you can see right here behind me.
Service officers attended the scene and confirmed that there was in fact a person obviously deceased inside a garbage bag.
The victim has not yet been identified, and police do not believe there's any connection between them and the person who found the bag. Investigators and a K-9 unit have been canvassing the area, which spans 3 or 4 blocks.
The canvass will involve any suspicious activities or anything that was unusual in the area.
There are no details on possible suspects at this time. Police say it is still being treated as a sudden or suspicious death. They ask anyone with information or surveillance video of the area to come forward. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
With just 3 days before the deadline to ink a deal with the federal government on childcare, Ontario has done just that. It's expected to cut fees in half for parents by the end of the year. Lisa Shing has the details.
At a YMCA filled with families and dignitaries, Ontario became the last province to sign a deal with the federal government.
This is the next step we're taking to keep costs down for people in our province.
Parents, especially moms, shouldn't have to choose between family or a career.
The new daycare agreement means costs will drop by 25% as of April 1st. Parents will get rebates starting May 1st, retroactive to the beginning of April. Fees will be cut by 50% by December. Eventually, parents will pay an average of $10 a day in 2025. It's good timing for the Premier, who has his sights set on an election win in a couple of months.
You know, Ontario is unique when it came to child care, and I'm very happy that the federal government saw that and was willing to sit down and take the time to get it right.
The deal isn't materially different than what was originally promised by the federal government. That's $10.2 billion over 5 years. Now, the extra $3 billion was secured for that 6th year, which was in line with what was in the federal budget.
It's shameful that the Ford government took so long and really delayed and delayed.
Since it seems like the only difference between Ontario and the other provinces is that it got Ottawa to promise another year of funding on paper, critics say it took too long.
The Ford government had no reason to delay. It doesn't seem that they got their magic better deal.
Even though parents agree this is long overdue. In Toronto, where daycare can cost upwards of $2,000 a month, they'll take what they can get.
My mom's debating retirement because of the cost of it, daycare, but this would definitely help a decision be made.
We've been debating childcare, but with the cost of it, like, you'd have to go get a full-time corporate career in order to afford it, and even then, like, I'd be pretty much making what I'm making now.
What do you think?
I think that's actually great. It's long overdue in my opinion, with all the other things that the province has been spending money on. This will definitely help out everyday parents.
The plan also includes creating 86,000 new childcare spaces in Ontario by 2026 and sets the new minimum wage for childcare workers of $18 an hour for staff and $20 an hour for supervisors. That will rise $1 an hour each year until it hits $25 an hour. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now. And Colette, I had put my winter coat away, but it looks like those early signs of spring were a bit of a fake out.
You know, Talia, as those warmer months get within grasp, we get closer to them, then it can be a bitter pill to digest when we have bitter chill still in the air, like the record lows from this morning, and then daytime highs that look like this, more than 10 degrees below seasonal. Spring is doing its job. We have to do ours of just hanging in there. It's going to be coming, but we are going to have kind of a busy week, at least midweek, to deal with some things. In the meantime, we're getting some clearing skies. The wind's backing off somewhat, allowing folks to get a bit of a break from those lake effect squalls we've been seeing. We'll get into sunshine for tomorrow. The temperature's a little milder, but we do have a messy system with some slippery roads to come in for Wednesday. Already some weather advisories that are in place because of it. So I'm going to go through that when I come back and take you right through the timing of this system as well. So that's more for Tuesday night and Wednesday. But overnight tonight, how about -8? And tomorrow, feeling a little bit better, 3 degrees for the high.
Thanks, Colette. The string of arrests in connection to last month's convoy protests now includes a sitting politician. Independent Ontario MPP Randy Hillier surrendered to Ottawa police this morning. Rafi Buchanan has more on the multiple charges Hillier faces.
I've been asked to surrender, face charges.
Never one to shy away from cameras, even for his own arrest.
I only ever greeted people with love and affection and embrace and handshakes.
But the displays of Randy Hillier egging on the protest convoy are not hard to find. Videos he posted himself before Twitter banned him. Here he's seen pushing against a police barricade.
Let's go!
Hillier now faces 7 charges, including assaulting a peace or public officer, 2 counts of obstructing or resisting a public officer, mischief, and counseling mischief.
They're serious offenses that will have major consequences should Mr. Hillier be convicted in a court.
This criminologist says the very rarity of a sitting elected official, especially one with views as extreme as Hillier, has law enforcement proceeding cautiously.
Crown prosecutors are very concerned to make sure that the administration of criminal justice is not brought into disrepute. They want sufficient evidence, and they want the right charges to be laid that aren't easily open to critiques that this would be a political witch hunt.
Hillier was released on bail today. Restrictions placed on what he can post on social media. Even as the Crown noted, that's where much of their evidence against them came from. Rafi Bujikani, CBC News, Ottawa.
CBC News has learned that tourism businesses in the province have not received any of the funding the Ford government announced for the sector 6 months ago. The province promised tourism operators would get $100 million to help recover from the pandemic. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the story.
Cruises along the Great Lakes used to bring tens of thousands of visitors to Ontario every year. Then the pandemic hit and the cruise industry shut down.
The loss of revenue in our small company is in the millions of dollars.
Bruce O'Hare runs Lakeshore Excursions. The company provides cruise passengers with side trips in a range of locations around the province.
We've never needed any government money or funding. We've never considered it. We run a profitable business.
In the first year of the pandemic, the company's revenue dropped by more than 98%.
Right now, we could sure use a lifeline, and so could everyone else.
To help tourism operators bounce back from the pandemic, the Ford government announced funding last September.
$100 million through the Ontario Tourism Recovery Program to help stabilize the tourism industry.
The deadline to apply for the funding was back in November. Hundreds of tourist operators put in applications. They're all still waiting to hear.
Every day that is lost is opportunities lost for Ontarians to be hired and for businesses to get that revenue in that they've simply not had for the last 2 years.
Why has this government and that minister failed to get the funds out the door for a tourism sector that is desperate to stay alive in Ontario?
Because all they are focused on the other side is complaining. All they're focused on the other side is trying to draw out potential scandals that never really exist.
The tourism minister didn't actually give any reasons why no money has gone to tourism operators. Her spokesperson says there were more applications than expected and the government is still working through them. It's cold comfort to Kathy Campbell. She runs On Away Lodge, a fishing and hunting camp in northwestern Ontario.
We've gone through all our savings. We've cleaned out our bank account. We're just about at the end of our overdraft protection.
Tourism operators across the province are left wondering when or even if they'll receive funding. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
A new roadmap for clean nuclear power. Saskatchewan is joining forces with Conservative governments in Ontario, Alberta, and New Brunswick to move forward on a plan to generate electricity using small modular nuclear reactors. Ontario's Energy Minister making it clear this deal could help Canada become a global exporter for this type of technology.
You know, when we build the first one, the second one is going to be easier and more affordable to build and to be exported, perhaps to Saskatchewan, but certainly to other jurisdictions around the world.
The nuclear reactors could generate enough clean electricity to power 300,000 homes each year. 2 of Ontario's reactors are in the GTA, in Pickering and Darlington. Canada has taken another step toward replacing its aging fleet of CF-18 fighter jets. Ottawa is about to enter into final negotiations with the top bidder, Lockheed Martin, to purchase 88 new F-35 aircrafts.
It has proven to be a mature, capable, and interoperable aircraft.
The federal government is budgeting $19 billion for the jets, its largest investment in the Air Force in more than 30 years. If the deal is finalized, the first planes could arrive in 2025. The government still has the option to start conversations with a Swedish manufacturer if negotiations with Lockheed Martin stall. A delegation of Indigenous leaders and residential school survivors from Canada is in Rome this week. Today, some of them finally got to meet with Pope Francis and tell their stories. This is a significant moment that many view as a much-needed step in the long journey towards reconciliation. Juanita Taylor reports from the Vatican.
A busy sidewalk in Rome became a healing path for 8 Métis delegates and the people they represent, arriving to face the institution that caused them so much pain. Inside, a historic meeting with the Pope. They told him their stories of trauma rooted in residential schools and formally asked him to apologize for the church's role. Afterward, this residential school survivor said she didn't have closure yet, but
today was the most wonderful day I ever had all my life. To meet the gentle, kindest person, and even got a hug.
The Métis delegates also asked Pope Francis for access to pertinent church records and to make sure their people are included in an existing financial settlement that hasn't been fully paid.
Reconciliation did not begin today with a meeting with Pope Francis, and it doesn't end here either.
While the Métis were meeting with the Pope, an Inuit delegation of 7 was on its way to the Vatican to make their own appeal for justice, along with their own call for an official apology to be made in Canada. They also asked the Pope to personally intervene in bringing alleged abusers to justice, in particular a former priest now in France.
It is such a heartbreaking reality that some people who should have been brought to justice decades ago have not seen justice.
For this delegate, telling the Pope to come to Canada to make his apology was the first step toward achieving justice.
And it seems like the burden, the heavy thing that I was carrying for a long time, it has lifted. It has lifted because it seems like I was carrying those people, that my friends, my relatives that have gone to school.
The third meeting is set to happen Thursday, when a delegation from the Assembly of First Nations has its private hour with the Pope. Then on Friday, a public finale to this remarkable week with the Pope, all the delegates, their family, friends, and support teams. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Rome.
Support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. You can access emotional and crisis referral services by calling the 24-hour crisis line. The number's on your screen, 1-866-925-4419. And there's a live look at the city skyline tonight. -6 degrees currently, a chance of flurries this evening, with that temperature expected to drop to -8 overnight. Colette's back now with our extended forecast and hoping there are warmer days in store for the rest of the week.
Thanks, Talia. Well, we do have a lot to talk about here in this segment, but, you know, at least we've got a little bit of a breather for tomorrow to get prepared for what's to come on Wednesday, all right? So it's not going to be as cold, plus we have sunshine for Tuesday. It's into Wednesday where we have that risk of ice pellets and some freezing rain coming our way. And then Thursday, well, that'll be the payoff. We'll see those temperatures spiking into the double digits. But I do want you to know that special weather statements are already in place for Wednesday, because of perhaps some extended ice pellets and freezing rain into eastern Ontario. It doesn't mean we're not going to see it elsewhere. In fact, I think we will see some into the GTA. So tonight, seeing the winds backing off through the overnight, that allows those snow squalls to back off. Still a bit of cloud cover in the morning, and then we get into lots of sunshine for the day tomorrow. But now taking you through Tuesday night into Wednesday, it'll be messy into southwestern Ontario. Some wet flurries first, then ice pellets, freezing rain, then rain showers. And we'll see this Wednesday early in the day, but lingering into the afternoon, pushing through the GTA as well. So It doesn't look like it's going to be a whole lot in terms of ice pellets and freezing rain, but any amount really slows things down on the roadways, but just makes things somewhat dangerous as well. Then we get the rain showers coming on the backside of that as temperatures warm up. So your readings overnight tonight, yeah, we're almost to April, but -10, feeling like -14. How about a high of 4 degrees Windsor for tomorrow afternoon with some sunshine? So looking good in that sense, and feeling like -15 overnight tonight. Still a few flurries into northern regions possible because of that lake effect. And then we're seeing tomorrow afternoon, a lot of 3s, might get to 4 for St. Catharines. A few other spots locally might pop up to 4 degrees. So then we're running closer to 5 degrees below seasonal instead of more than 10 like today. Wednesday, closer to freezing. Look at that spike on Thursday. Again, that's kind of the payoff we get, the benefit once we get through the messiness of that storm midweek.
Thanks, Colette. And finally tonight, Toronto is trying to stabilize its nearly billion-dollar music industry by permanently reducing property taxes for live music venues, something that is welcome news for bands back playing in the city tonight.
There's an instant gratification with playing live. You see how excited people get, and it makes you more excited, it makes you want to play harder and better.
Canadian punk rock band Mets played their first gig on home soil in 2 years tonight at Toronto's Lee's Palace. They say it feels surreal to be back playing at home. Live music promoters and venue owners say the 50% cut to property taxes are crucial to their survival. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.